Hello, my name is Alex Isles and welcome to Brochlaw Hillfort in Northumberland National Park. And this is a fantastic location to discuss the Iron Age, or introduce the concept of the Iron Age. Now, the Iron Age is generally dated around about 800 BC onwards, and it's when the introduction of iron tools comes into the British Isles. Now, iron technology had been developed far earlier in other parts of the world, but slowly moved across the world until it arrived here in the British Isles. And it was a massive social leveller. During the Bronze Age, bronze technology was controlled by an elite group of individuals, and it was very much tied in with the trade networks that connected right the way through to the Mediterranean. And so because of this, the elite in the British Isles who controlled the bronze trade would have connections right the way through to other parts of the world and became very powerful and wealthy due to it. But the new Iron Age elite that came through, due to a combination of climate change, breakdown of international trade routes, and adoption of iron technology in other parts of the world, were not connected anymore to this previous Bronze Age power. The reason why is because iron is commonly found throughout the whole of Europe and around other parts of the world as well. So because of this, it was a social leveller. You don't need to rely on trade networks to make sure you have the component parts for your metal. Instead, you can find iron in and around the landscape where you live. And when you can find iron in and amongst the landscape where you can live, you then can put it into use making tools that suddenly make all of your work much easier. When you can make your work much easier, this means you can improve the amount of crops that you're developing, you can increase the amount of food you're producing, and alongside this as well, you can improve your defensive and offensive capabilities with better weapons and technology. So this was a massive period of time for change, and what we see is a transition from possibly the old Bronze Age elite towards a new powerful Iron Age communities. And these Iron Age communities, they are now characterized by the control of food. So the new Iron Age aristocracy seemed to be able to control the supply of food, whereas the Bronze Age aristocracy controlled the trade routes. So because of this, the Iron Age aristocracies come through and they start building these really impressive hill fort monuments. And right here you can see one, and Brochlaw is amazing because it's got what's described as a double skin wall. So you've got two series of walls, and you can see even to this day, around about 2,300 years later, the walls are still very clear. This has been roughly dated to about 300 BC, but there may be an earlier structure underneath it. Inside here, even though it's not one of the largest hill forts in this area, there were 3 round houses, and then there was also a location over there for the keeping of either horses or some form of livestock. And then the main entrance is through the area where you just saw me walk. So this is again a wonderful example of the kind of hill forts that we see up here in Northumberland National Park, on top of the hills, controlling the movements of people either by the river valley just below here, which is the river Breamish coming down the side, or over the landscape nearby. And this hill fort, even though it's not the largest, has got some of the most developed defences and would have been visible from the other hill forts nearby on the other hills. So again, it's a statement of power by the local aristocracy inside this hill fort, that they are the ones who are projecting power over the rest of the region. This is what we see within the Iron Age, a warrior elite who are characterized by weapons, by horses, and by having large retinues and war bands, who are therefore able to project their power onto the landscape, and then at the same time provide safety for the people under them through supplying food and warriors against the other warring tribes. Around about 300 BC as well is when we see a period of global warming that ensures that in the Mediterranean you see the explosion of many of these cultures, such as the Romans and the Carthaginians, to new levels of power due to population growth. And up here in Northern Europe, that warmth as well would have ensured that there was a population expansion due to the fact that more people were surviving. So this was then characterized by what we see later on in the sort of the 1st century BC, with Julius Caesar fighting against, in the Gallic Wars, huge armies of Gauls, and also in the 4th century BC, where we see the Gauls migrating out of France, or modern day France, right the way across to places like modern day Turkey. and you see the developments of places like Galatia in the centre of what is now modern day Turkey as well. So these massive events which were happening across the world, with things like climate change, population expansions, all of those sort of things, were felt even around here. And even though we haven't got written history, we can look at the landscapes, the building of these hill forts, and the ways that the local aristocracy were influencing the landscape and also having an effect on farming and the local populations around as well, and then really infer what was going on here up in the northeast of England. So I really hope you've enjoyed this introduction to the Iron Age, and that you'll join us for a few other videos as well, where we'll go into more depth about various topics and talk about it in more length. If you're not already subscribed, please do like and subscribe, share it with your friends, and if you would like to support the channel, please do support me on Patreon, which is in the link in the description, and by doing so that you can help steer some of the content of the channel by suggesting videos and things like that. Until next time though, stay safe and well, and I look forward to seeing you again in another video.